This is Dr. David Allen coming to you on the television program, People Helping People. We have a special program tonight because it's a program close to my heart. As you know, our nation has been torn with much violence and sometimes unrest, and particularly with our young people. What this program aims to do is to get young people when they're in initial trouble, not too many serious violent crimes, and instead of them going to jail or going to the reform school, the court has allowed us to see them. It's a carrot-stick approach. If they do well in the program, their court obligations are forgiven. If they don't, they then proceed on with the law. This is very important because the average age of the murder in the Bahamas is between 16 and 25, now maybe perhaps 29. So these young men and women are people who are headed for a terrible life. And thank God for Dr. Denie Fountain, who is the founder of this program. She's rescued many young people from the pit of hell and destruction. We've now been joined by Ms. Dedrie Andrews. She brings a tutoring component because it's known that if you give a young man or a young girl arithmetic, writing, and reading, they can close a prison door. It's that important. That's why this program is very close to my heart, the Court Adolescent Referral Program of the Family Program. Dr. Denie, will you start and tell people what the program's about?
Okay, so one of the things we do and we seek to do is to take our troubled youth, the youth that the nation calls hopeless, and we take them and we give them hope. So what we do with them is we meet with them. First we do the intake, either the intake and the assessment that comes to us from the court through social services. So what we do with those persons is we get them in, we do the intake, we do the initial interview, we get all the information. When we get and we look at those assessments, it's based on a couple of criterias. We look at their depression and stress level, we look at their early childhood, which is the ACE, we look at the adverse childhood experiences, we look at their anger and the way they manage it, we look at PTSD, and we look at all these things at an entry level, not something that's really, really big. And then we look now at a generalized anxiety disorder. What we do with the ACE is we build on that. So it tells us about their first couple of years. And we're able to build a program specifically for that individual. Maybe they just have home issues and they don't know what to do with all the frustration. Then that frustration turns to anger. So then we look at their anger assessment. And it's really scored out of 10, which could go up to about 100% for some of them. It's based on the yes and it's based on the no's. What I discover is a lot of them would say, look, I don't have anger issues. But when we do the assessment, we realize there's some serious anger, which could also stem back to their ACE from something that happened to them in their home life. And so we take a look at all of those assessments, and then what we do with it is we try to build a program around them. And of course, you know, then there's the group. We don't do anything outside of the group. They must attend the group therapy session. Once they get in the group session, then we're able to see their interaction with other young people, whether they can be manipulated or whether they've got leadership abilities. Wow. We've got a couple of kids that's to the Defense Force that's been in our program. For me, that's fantastic. We have some kids that the schools, the government schools said, look, this kid is a menace, they won't make it. They came to our program, we were able to help them, and they're off in college. So I know this program really works. We're in the office Mondays, and we're in there on Wednesdays. And we do have a group for the parents. We are encouraging parents always to be a part of that, because what we see happening is, if we can get the parents to see the kids the way we see them, to speak to them the way we speak to them. We change the nation by changing one child at a time. That's what we do.
Wow. And Denie, do you get discouraged?
You know, sometimes I want to, but then there's always a bigger picture. There's always a bigger picture. So in the moments when I think I'm going to get discouraged, I stop and I look. And I always say, but for the grace of God, there goes I. It could have been me. When we look back at what we've been through and where we are, it could be us in those places where those young people are. And we would like to know that there's always someone there with a hand out who's willing to help. So discouragement.
So you're a safe place for young, troubled people.
We are. We're a safe place, and much more than being a safe place, we're so very close to the police headquarters. And I have a lot of fun with that and the kids. And we're very, very close to the hospital. You know, we don't hit, we don't beat, we don't spank, we don't do any of that. I don't even allow them to shout at each other. Because if we keep it calm answers, turn away wrath. And that's how we keep it.
You know, Denie, they say the island is kind of gangsterized, and even the kids are joining gangs. How do you deal with that in your program? Or you don't have to encounter that?
We encounter it almost with every intake. We encounter.
But does it scare you?
No, not really. Not really. One of the things we've been discovering for a very long time now is most of the persons, especially the young people, when they join the gangs, they're looking for love.
When they join the gangs, they're looking for love.
They're looking for love. They're looking for that thing that they don't get at home. If mommy and daddy are present in the homes, but mommy and daddy ain't getting along, it's going to spill over onto the children.
Wow.
So when they come into our place, into our safe space, I make them my children.
Wow.
Yeah, I make them my children, and I speak to them the way I speak to my children. And I treat them the way I treat my children.
And Dr. Denie, obviously we've added now the tutorial program with Ms. Andrews. And
Yes.
how is that helpful? And why did you want to expand into a tutorial program?
Because we see the need for it. We have a lot of kids who, they're coming to us, they've got this serious inability, most of them, to read, to write, to understand. And so the need to have that, we've always had a program of such within the program. And for a while, well, after COVID shut down a whole lot of stuff, and we weren't able to get it back. And then God bless us with a Dedrie Andrews, who now, well, we get reports from the parents who are now saying, my children are really doing their homework. But I don't want to speak to that program because we have the person who can speak to it for us.
Ms. Andrews.
Hi, good morning, good day, everyone. The program that I started, I think we started around in January. January. One of the first steps that I have done is give each child an assessment. They get a general assessment on English and math, and then an overall cognitive assessment that I do. And the reason why this is so important, so I can get to see exactly where they're at in their academics and in their understanding. Something that is also given to me by Dr. Denie is their report cards. So I'm not just looking at that report card and saying, because the majority of them we're dealing with below 1 point, below 2 point.
Yes.
Some of them are not even barely to that.
And are these, the girls have below 1 point, or the boys, is it, or the same?
We have, the majority are the young men, but then we both have girls and boys, but the majority that are not at that standard are the young men.
And why is that?
For some reason, I realized that young ladies
whatever they're experiencing and go through, they are able to maintain a certain GPA and able to function inside their academics.
So you're saying, and Denie told me this some years ago, the lady may have as much pain as a boy, have a high PTSD score,
Yes, or more.
but she has a GPA of 3.5,
Yes.
and that same guy with her pathological score is now got a GPA of 1. Why the difference?
I believe psychologically, I think it's a brain thing. Because I don't even know if a female is taught to understand that even through this pain, you must do what you have to do. But it's something that's just done.
A woman has to do that.
It's done.
Us men don't know the pain. You all?
You don't know. You don't
We
know.
just don't know.
You just don't know.
And you all function in spite of.
In spite of.
In spite of.
You agree with that?
Yes, in spite of. In
So
spite
how do you
of.
help a young man who's got a GPA of 1 or -1?
Well, the thing about it is, once that assessment is done and I see where they're at, then I know how to target each area in their lives. Because one of the things I also learned that at least 60 to 70% of my young men, they're intelligent. They can function.
But because a person with a GPA of 1 or -1 is still very intelligent?
Yes, yes.
How do you explain that?
Because a lot of them are deliberately not wanting to do well in school.
Why?
Yeah.
Because of peers, because of gangs. They don't want to be seen as the person who is, okay, I can do this, I'm smart.
You mean it's not cool to be smart, it's more cool to be dumb? Or failing?
It's more cool to hang with the in crowd.
Yes.
Oh, it goes by the crowd.
As opposed to standing out and saying, I
That's
dare
it.
to be different.
Yes.
So if they want to hang out with the Dedries and the Davids in the school, they have to become what the Dedrie and the Davids are, as opposed to being totally different and becoming true to themselves.
So it's their community then? Because in the
Absolutely.
earlier study we did, we showed that one of the
Absolutely.
major things the young people in the program said, they had to choose their friends. So young men to be accepted by the popular guys is not cool to be smart.
And the ones who were smart and doing it, because we had a guy, a young guy, in the gang. He was in the gangs, and he wasn't doing well in math, but he was responsible for collecting the gang money from persons who was owing the gang members.
Wow.
He was not good at maths, but he was responsible for collecting the money. He obviously did that well.
He did that.
He had to, right?
Yeah. So what we did in that time was connected him with a teacher outside of the program. We connected him with a teacher who was able to sit with him and help him to make sense out of both of them without destroying him.
I totally agree with that, because even in the maths concept, I interacted them, not only just paperwork for them tests, but let them relate to it on day-to-day lifestyle and living, showing them, because when we think about maths, we think about the level of persons knowing how to read their pay slips, knowing how to calculate their money. So it's good for them to have both the balance, and that in return gives them another level of wanting to do better and different inside school.
And can I also share that one of the things we have seen, we had a number of kids came back after, now that the report cards out, and they're bragging about being able to do the work in school. We have mothers who are now saying, my child did exceptionally well. We're just waiting for the report cards.
Yes.
She's saying, my child did really well. We had a couple of the guys who were graduating. They were so excited for that extra help because they were getting ready to take national exams. So they were so excited about the extra help that we gave them from January until it was time for the exams. They're now saying, I'm coming out of this like a beast.
Oh.
Which means they're getting it.
Yes, yes.
It's so simple but so profound.
Yes, yes.
The teaching kid to read, to write arithmetic can actually affect them going free in society or being in prison.
Yes, it does.
So why
It
haven't we
does.
done this before?
That's a very good question.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Have we been doing it?
I mean, on a societal basis.
Okay.
I mean, let's get programs that really go after these young boys and let them learn to read, write arithmetic, and maybe learn a skill.
Maybe your next session would be with the powers that be sitting in these chairs, one or two of them. I don't know who you would get, but I don't know. Maybe I would look at the Minister of Education and maybe National
Well, she came to your
Security.
program.
She did, and she was a delight. She was a hit. And even the now Commodore of the Defense Force was there.
He came to your program
He
too.
was at the program.
You got promoted after you saw him.
Sure did. Sure did. but he impressed my kids when he was there so much.
Amazing.
And
He told me you went to school with him.
he did.
And I tried to find out what we were like, but he won't tell me.
Speaking not on TV, but we've been doing this program, and Dr. Allen, when we see the kids come in, we do have difficult kids that come in. We do have those. I will not sit here and say to the nation, oh, everything
When you say
is-
difficult, what do you mean? Explain to the country
so
what you're saying.
We have kids that come in with a made-up mind. This is who I am, and this is who I want to be. And when they do that, it's almost impossible, impossible.
So that would be a gang leader or somebody?
Not particularly. Not particularly. Mind you, persons that are involved or associated with gangs and gang-related activities, those are some of the nice people. I don't know how. But these younger ones,
Say that again.
they're nice.
The kids that are associated with gangs, sometime
Yeah.
of them.
They're
And why
nice.
would that be,
Because they
really?
have a cushion outside of coming to us. They've got a cushion outside of home. They have some place where they could go after us. And there's still people see.
Are
that's
you
one of
saying the
things-
gang is good for them?
No, I'm not saying that. But they listen. Whereas mommy and daddy ain't listening. So when I meet over there and I'm in that gang and the gang leader sees me coming in there behaving some type, he's going to stop. And they listen to these children. I know that because they share that. They listen. So what we try to do is we're trying to get parents, listen to your children. Don't necessarily have to be a 5-hour conversation. But if you say to Susie, I'm busy right now, give me 2 minutes, give them 2 minutes. And when that 2 minutes is up, call them back, because what the gang leaders are doing is, give me a couple of minutes, let me deal with this, and I'll be right back. And in a couple of minutes, they back, bro, what's the problem? And if we could get that in the home, we could put a dent in our kids joining the gang. Because now mommy and daddy's listening, even if they're not living in the same home. See, when the parents are separated and apart, there's two separate types of child rearing. Because I've got one way and daddy's got one way. But I say to the parent, still water the tree. Because a tree between two properties, if one person water it, that tree will still survive.
Yes. You know, I totally agree with you, Dr. Denie, because even in the tutoring program, I make sure every session make a space for us to communicate. And I have to ask these questions.
But you make it sound so easy, but the teachers tell me these kids don't pay attention in school. Why would they pay attention to you and not in school?
These children, they know. They know, all due respect to them in school, but
What are you
they,
giving them for them to pay attention to you, and then they won't pay attention to the teacher in school?
I believe I'm giving them that love. And
Wait, teachers don't give love? I mean, I know you're a loving person.
Oh, yeah.
So they say.
No, everybody is different, but everybody is unique, teaching in their own way.
Yeah.
And I give that to them, and I give that to the respect.
How
that
do
they
you
know.
give it to them that the teacher doesn't give?
Well, I don't know what the teacher is not giving there, but what I give to them, I said, I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear what is your concern, why you unable to get that grade, why you're not able to understand this English or this maths. I'm here for you. Talk to me. What is the gap? Why did you make this and not this? Show me.
And they respond?
And they respond to me.
The boys too?
The boys and the girls.
And the class.
What is that then?
The class
Why
is
can't that happen
predominantly male anyway.
But why can't that happen
It
in
is.
school? That's what I'm asking.
Because the classrooms are too big.
Oh, okay.
So we've got a controlled class. I think in some days you get, 10, 11, and 12 of them?
Yes, yes, that is correct.
That's a control. You could control that. You
30 people,
30 people, not so much. So you're not going
Okay,
to...
so you're saying we have to reduce the sizes of our classes?
We should, because if we do that, then the teachers are able to spend more time with Susie and Billy and Anna, who's getting it wrong. See, here's the thing, and I love our school teachers, the education system, all of
Oh,
it.
they mean well. They try
They do, and
very
they're trying
hard.
very hard.
Yes, yes,
and
they
we
do
say
well.
to them, kudos, because they're trying. But when we get in the classroom, because David is in the class, and David gets it all the time, they won't look at Miss Dedrie, and they won't look at me. But they're going to spend plenty time on the Davids in the classroom, because you don't take much work. You already got it.
Oh, so a bright kid then is easier?
It's easier. And when I say bright in terms of education, not color.
Okay.
And so when you have the kids that get it, we go after those kids that get it. But here's my philosophy. When a student fails, a teacher fails, they can come after me if they want to. But when a student fails, a teacher fails because...
When a student fails, a teacher fails.
The teacher fails because he or she knows the weak students in the classroom. Let's go after the weak students. Let's try to push them. And yes, they're going to give you pushback, but keep on giving it. We get pushback all the time.
Yes, we do.
But we don't stop because we get pushback. I told you I had a kid that came in and looked me straight in the face, and she goes, Miss Denie, she didn't say I don't like you. She said I hate you. And I was so excited. I did not get up. I was so excited. And I go, here is one honest little girl. She told me how she felt. And I said, at the end of your sessions here, and I release you, you will love me. And she told me, never. We worked with that little girl, and she worked with me from a distance, and I paid her no mind. I still worked with her.
Yes.
And I would still send her little notes, I love you. And she would just pull it up and throw it in the guy. And it was okay. It was okay. Prior to that, or prior to her leaving, I noticed every time she came to group, she pulled a chair next to my own.
Oh, wow.
She just pulled the chair next to my own. And I asked her, I said, why are you sitting so close? And she said, because I love you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was not that I went after her hard. I just kept it right there. And I gave her space. But I loved her, and I did not treat her differently because she didn't like me. I realized here's an opportunity. Maybe that was her language. Maybe that's all she got at home. Is when we checked the ACE. The home base at that point was not so good. And so I promised, I'll be a mother to you. And after she left the program, and 21 and 22 now, every now and again I'll hear from her, and she says, I'm doing well.
Beautiful. We're going to take a break and be right back.